right, everybody, we are going to get started. Welcome to my dinner party, the party before the networking party. Thank you all for being here. My name's Amanda Garrett. I am the West Coast editor at Fortune, and you are in the timing, trade-offs, and speed breakout session. Before we get started, I would love to thank our partners, Wes Monroe, for hosting his panel. Thank you so much for your partnership. Um, Thank you. So AI is pushing the pace of business beyond what most organizations are used to and beyond what many feel ready for. Decisions are happening faster, expectations are rising, and the margin for error hasn't changed, as you all well know. Um,
Another house.
Leaders are just asking how to move quickly. They're asking how to move in ways that don't create problems down the line because you moved too fast at the beginning. So I'm going to introduce to you our wonderful, wonderful panel. But before I do, I'm going to give you some housekeeping. So this is an interactive session. Everybody in here should be talking. We want to really exchange ideas. They want to know what you're thinking. You want to know what they're thinking. We can say it out loud and hopefully achieve some real insights before we leave this room today. There's going to be mic runners in the room. So if you have a question, just raise your hand or you can yell out, Amanda, because we're in a kind of small room. Amanda, I want to say something, or just start talking. Also, that's fine too. And a reminder that this second was on the record. My colleague, Jeff John Roberts from Fortune, who's the finance editor who just came in, is going to be taking notes right here. So you are on the record. So just be mindful. Um, that way you say might wind up on a website. So with that, let me introduce you to our wonderful panel. This is Brett Greenstein. He's the Chief AI Officer at West Monroe. He is sitting next to Sean Bruick, which is like Buick with an R. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Amgen. We have Dan Gill, who's the Chief Product Officer at Carvana, and Nizar Trigui, who's the Chief Technology Officer at GXO. So we have completely different vantage points on the panel. So we're going to go in, go out, go in, go out. So I'm going to start with you, Brett. I'm going to ask you to kick things off. Wait, but before I do, actually, I want to just get a quick read of the room. Hands up, hands down, quick poll. Okay, so show of hands. In the past year, has AI made you move faster, fall further behind, or both at once? Faster, further behind, both at once. Few brave stays. We'll come back to that, Dan. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we also are a small enough group that we're going to do a quick lap around and we're going to do a quick 10 to 15 seconds only. Name, organization, and then tell me really, really quickly whether something AI related that you were part of went away over the past year, either because it wasn't working, it wasn't raising enough money, or for whatever reason. 10 seconds. We're going to start with Jeff John Roberts at Fortune.
As a finance editor has reports of a little worse.
Whether an AI initiative that you've been part of has just quietly gone away in the past year.
No, we're full dust. Everywhere, the mayors.
Nora, director fight for AI at Books. And you do a ton of AI pilots and a lot of them probably be always this let go by first scared bust. Okay.
Thank you.
Jeff Morelli, CEO of Soma Health. We deal insurance verifications. About a year ago, we were using voice agents to try to call insurance companies, so we had to abandon that. But now with the advancements of models, Step and Cap go on the table. So it's time to figure out what my job being fit in.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Kristen Cowdery. I work for Marriott. I lead our design team, but meaning like architecture design, physical design. I'm going to answer only from the perspective, not Marriott overall, but just on our design team. I would say no, we haven't stopped AI. I think we're in the earlier phases of developing new technologies.
Okay. And then you just joined us, but name, organization, and whether something you were working on related to AI just sort of disappeared.
Cool. Coming after I'm a Patrick Ian, Caliper Ventures, early stage fund in San Francisco. I take a different spin. We've always hired interns, never undergrad interns. We're hiring undergrad interns now that teaches AI all the tools and gives us up to speed faster. Incredibly ingenious, by the way.
Super interested.
Yeah, more than a year ago, but incredibly ingenious.
Jason.
Jason Gallowing, Fortune. As far as for slowing down for AI, no. Full throttle, just full speed ahead.
I'm Joe Pavia with Ebby, the hydration provider here. We're also full steam ahead. You do hackathons, you got Slack channels dedicated. that we're learning from each other every day with big Claude and Gemini users.
Thank you so much. And I've been hydrating with Bevy all day. Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, I already do shells.
And gonna just say it is a lot where we jump down to new AI tools and then those slowly by way. For example, marketing team, you spent a lot of time building on GPTs. We now found that Claude is way better. So those sort was by big. Gotcha.
Sean Mills, partner with Archetype, a marketing services firm, and we are doubling down every day. So
They're saying I'm a CEO for our last study. We develop enterprise AI agents in bulk, fast, manage them, and basically continuous upgrade them. We are tripling now on it.
Tripling down. Okay. I'm Elaine here from the Singapore Economic Development Board. So I'll talk more about just Singapore is implementing our national AI strategy. And there are lots of initiatives relating to infrastructure, governance, talent development, and enterprise support. I would say that we have been iterating along the way. So as the initiatives you become clearer that they bring value, we scale them up. But otherwise, we make adjustments.
Thank you. Iterating. Right here.
I'm Liz Rory. I lead the life sciences business at Bahia. Full steam ahead. Jim Care.
Yours, I get. That's enough. We can stop right there, actually.
Drew Harmon with CM Labs, we're an AI researcher focused on small language models, and full steering better fun.
I'm Jason and Portion. We are also full steam ahead on air.
Heather.
Hey, I'm Yanni. I'm the CEO or co-founder of Dreamo. Dreamo is a native virtual CRM. So it's a garage.
You're go for it. Yes.
I will listen to Fortune, what he said.
Them are founder and CEO of Innovations, a boutique consulting firm, flying initiatives across the Fortune 500. The small ones is working wonderfully. The big ones with tens of thousands of employees. Success, but not sure it's going to see also baller.
Carrie Bond.
Kelly Barris, Fortune. See my head.
Fun Digital.ai. I'm an AI investor. I figured I'd change my name to .ai. Speed up. But the valuation is not come. After G.ai, I'm also going to purchase Steam.
We'll see him ahead, obviously. Yeah.
I'm Andrew Toss. I'm co-founder and CEO of Clarity. We've helped companies like OpenAI, Google, and ServiceNow with their internal AI transformation. And we found that I think the promise of open source models that you individualize velocity.
Okay. Michael Drake, researcher at MIT Sloan School. Full speed ahead, but we're now much warier about trade-offs between automation, and assistance. Okay.
Waiting, in Singapore Economic Development Board, our country is all
Oh, hello.
John Briggerman of Vinci. We're building a foundation model for physical AI. So we're in.
Okay.
Heidi Dins from Perry, a wellness health company, building a database that's going to be really appropriate for AI.
Okay. Sounds great.
Ken Sawyer, our investor with Saints Capital and Crossover Ventures early stage fund. I just read a comment. Everyone's supposed to speed ahead. I don't see any bots here. I see a lot of people. The fortunes all speed ahead. I wonder how many right bot in a couple of years, given the challenges, get AI, clearly massive amounts of content. Go open.
And Court of All Western Row. I believe we're full steam ahead, but Rep will know better.
I know. We are going to get
To rest you
or which
Lindsay McCallini with West Monroe as well, and I'll let speak.
I'm Rich Yang, CEO of OneLake, the first semiconductor bus sensor ever for everybody at the all in on AI. I'll tell you next year what does well.
Farouk Kumar, CTO at Secure. We identify fraud on the internet and all sorts of fraud on the internet. And I think we've killed things like GitHub Copilot. We've killed Gamma, beautiful, Hollenberg, fraud. Seems solve all these problems that all these.
And you're also West Monroe all in, Christina?
We are all in, but I will say that we actually watched a website today, westgrown.ai, that has a bunch of self-service agents. And we had to swap a couple out for different ones because it wasn't working as well as we got. So we're constantly testing and making sure that things work.
Live journalism.
I'm Michael Strabaso, and I'm with Amgen. We've stopped
plenty of projects in favor of the ones that were here.
Oh, yeah, Daniel's gonna tell us everything.
I'm Ben Ryko from Adaption Labs. We help the companies create their own AI models, domain-specific ones with the specific angle towards continual learning or helping in adapting any time. I have Ron Connerduke, CEO of CodeStrap. We built an AI coding platform that outmoded Claude Code to the 297% cost savings. It's not something that we've abandoned, but I think the market has abandoned the belief that we're going to basically fire everyone and just have AI do our job for us, which is a good thing.
Do people tell you look like Jake Gyllenhaal?
I feared that and Robert Pattinson, which are great. I don't know if I see her up there.
Right. Good for me, man.
I'm Oli Kirko. I'm with Celestica. Celestica is the stock that you wish you owned 3 years ago. We were about $30, now we're $400.
Okay, wait, I don't understand there. I'm gonna say, I feel like you're all in on AI.
We're all in on AI, so we're the technology and manufacturing partners for all the data design and manufacturing of data centers for hyperscalers. We are now into physical AI and productivity AI.
Wonderful. Share with Weston Ramen Allwit. Camping Deer's Experian, our AI strategies more is more. One thing I did move away from is early on, we built a lot of our own stack on Llama at the source, and had decided that Andy Russell for Experian, and I'd say what Camping said. So yeah.
Solomon Hailer, March Capital. We invest in growth stage enterprise companies. We're always experimenting, but I do find myself going to Claude more than some point solutions.
Hi, I'm Alex, founder of View Engine. We help businesses show up in AI search. One of the things that we've shifted away from is having to have a dedicated engineer to build pipelines to produce content. And now we have non-technical people do it.
Okay, great. We all know each other now. Oh, did I miss you? I'm so sorry, sir.
No worry. I'm Anup Tripathi, CTO at Sauce Labs. While everybody using the AI to like code path toward the infrastructure so you can test your overlay web apps across device and OS versions pass. One of the things that we had initiated was we thought that GitLab UO product would work out great because of the CI/CD integration, but it did not work well, so we gave it up and we
Right, great. Great. So everybody feel free to chime in as we're talking. I'm gonna give it to Brett. I want you to talk about what's going on. Tell everybody sort of briefly, why are people feeling pressure? Is it related to speed? What are the blockers that they're feeling? And how much of the pressure is related to the fear of being left behind?
So when ChatGPT started to really take off and everyone realized, oh my God, AI might be a thing, FOMO was the word. Everyone talked about FOMO. I think it switched though somewhere maybe about a year and a half ago to FOBO, which is fear of being obsolete. And there is a substantial amount of fear of people not being able to keep up with what is such a fast pace. And so speed is the point. The speed is not just AI advancing, but speed in the businesses like all of you who said you were all in. Obviously, it's a little biased. You wouldn't have come here if you weren't all in. But everyone is getting the benefit of speed, but everyone else outside of places like this are talking about cost savings, and they're missing the point. Speed is a huge competitive advantage. So transforming work, whether at the individual or process or business model level, to be faster, one, creates stress on people because they want to keep up. But two, it enables this compounding benefit for business. So as we become more AI native as a firm, we have speed to our advantage. Client can call on Monday. We can have a demo and a presentation ready for the same day. That used to be weeks. If you can do something in the same day, you can bring value faster, you can get feedback faster, you can iterate faster. The compounding benefits of speed are impossible to measure. And it's why people focused on cost are really probably missing the point. If you can make your business faster, if you can scale the people you have, it's obviously much better. But I do think it creates an enormous amount of stress on individuals to keep up, to know what's going on, to know what the best practices are. All of you using various AI agents to do your work, are you using it the very best that you could? I wake up every day wondering, am I doing the best? Is there something I'm missing? What else could I learn? And I study this 24 hours a day. So I feel for people who are trying to keep up.
Sean, I'm interested in your thoughts on speed. I mean, Sean is now the CTO at Amgen. You have patients, health, lives. Like, obviously, patience is a strategy that you can't underrate it. Like, what do you think about speed?
Yeah, I mean, look, so Amgen, one of the largest biotechnology companies in the world,
medicines for patients who have serious disease. If that's the reason you're feeling urgency, that's a good thing because it leads you to find ways of integrating, technology and AI into helping our scientists be more creative, helping us manufacture our medicines more efficiently or more reliably. You do things like recruit patients for clinical trials so that we can get those medicines in market more quickly. But I do think there's like a pretty big moment here where the noise is actually keeping people away from some of the focus on the work and navigating this right now, having your teams not spend all their time to all of that anxiety and noise out there that's not mission driven is incredibly important.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. Let's come back to that. Dan, I want you to talk a little bit about Carvana, but the way it's structured. And then I also want you to talk a little bit more about the point that you made earlier about.
Sure.
Okay.
Um, so for those who don't know, Carvana, we're a vertically integrated auto retailer. And so all we have is differentiation and speed. And our industry has been very mature for a very, very long time. It's a US used cars is $650 billion a year, and we had to start from zero. And so it's pretty commoditized. Ultimately, we're getting a car to a customer. But to make that e-commerce, you have to kind of get through three major things. And most transactions require financing, so we've had to become a full spectrum lender, and we are the bank, right? Do all of our own credit scoring, decisioning, underwriting, securitization, etc. People want to trade in cars, and so you got to value a car sight unseen. That's really hard to do accurately. And third, we couldn't call FedEx or USPS to deliver the car that someone bought through our website. So we had to build a nationwide logistics network, and we got to pick up that trade in that we gave you a value for. So we're about 24,000 people now, and about 25 billion in revenue, and have built a big business. But leaning into the vertical integration and the urgency of sort of the deep integration of that customer experience, so that we don't sort of ship our org chart, is a really important aspect of how we integrate all of our systems and how we make things self-service that weren't self-service in a dealership world. And so it's been quite a journey on the getting faster and slower at the same time. I think you still can't escape the fact that prioritization is really all there is. And we try to pound into ourselves. I'm not a typically disciplined person. I like to do everything. But we try to pound into ourselves that one thing all the way done is much more valuable than five things progressed to 20% each. And so getting that number one priority finished and staying focused there is harder than ever, because prototyping is cheap and documentation is cheap and code generation is cheap. And suddenly it's so easy to do things. But the reality is getting that number one thing all the way done and iterating on it really tightly is much, much, much more valuable than just advancing lots of stuff. And so we relearn that lesson every year because we get overly ambitious around something.
Do you see this a lot, Brett? Before I go to Nizar, I saw you nodding while he was talking.
So once the incremental cost of work gets so small, everybody just wants to do something. And so having employees building things is great, but knowing which things matter is really hard. And so I think, we spend a lot of time on the analysis of business processes and KPIs and value. So if people can at least focus on a few things that matter, we get them all the way through. Even if you treat everyone doing something as perhaps organizational learning, the focus and getting all the way through is really important. So you have to find a way to cultivate and tolerate the fact that maybe a lot of people are building stuff. Some of them may be duplicates, but a few things are going to matter a lot to the business. In any given time, an executive knows, like, what are the three things that will move the needle for their business? Not 300 things. But if you ask everyone how many use cases they all have 300, but they're not all equally important. So knowing the three that matter in this moment and then tomorrow, the next three, that's a different mindset.
Okay, so we'll have to drill down on that, but I want you to talk about the people part of this, Nizar. I mean, your business is people. Tell us about GXO, and then tell us about sort of the people aspect of this. And then I want to come back to the noise, cutting through the noise.
So maybe I'll introduce GXO. So GXO is the largest pure play logistics and warehousing company around the world. It's the company that nobody knows about. But almost everything that if it's shipped to you, if you bought it from the store, in general, 30% of that comes from GXO. The pressure on us to adopt the technology and really move really comes from two ends. From our customers that are seeing all this disruption in their in the logistics space. So the system is broken, so they want resiliency. They want faster decision making so that they can move goods and people and support their business. And of course, from our board, our shareholders trying to get to value as fast as possible in an environment that's very, very complex. Uh, and we're in the business of people, so we have 100 and more than 120,000 people. And really, the question is, how do you take people through a journey, through big transformations such as the adoption of a major transformational technology, and you're going to exit on the other end with the people with you? Because at the end of the day, our businesses are people.
Right. So I want to come back to this because the point that you made was you have to find the things that matter, the things that add value. So, how do you balance those two things? Finding the things that add value, but then also worrying about, the people aspect of this is people are very entrenched and in love with the way that they work and do things and the way they feel it's effective. So, I would love for Brett and then Sean to sort of talk a little bit more about that point.
So the idea that people have been rolling out AI tools to their employees means that, I don't know if you roll out to 120,000 people, but whatever number you've rolled out to, they're learning something every day and they're trying new things. And you want to cultivate that and you want to put some focus on that so people feel that they can future proof their careers. But at the same time, you're going to invest in something that drives real change in the business. So I find it's important to keep different segmentation of how you treat that. Letting a lot of people building things or using AI to automate their work is great. Also helping them decouple their identity from the things that they used to do to the outcomes that they do. That helps for broadly for people. Let's forget the three things for a second. Broadly to help people disconnect. I make PowerPoints every day to I help make decisions every day, or I help them optimize revenue every day. Like think of the outcome, not the activities. A lot of people have created an identity that's tied to the activities of their work. So as a business internally, we spend a lot of time focusing on outcome language and thinking about that as KPIs rather than mechanics of how many spreadsheet updates did someone do. That doesn't matter. Did you make a better decision? Did you improve someone's revenue? Things like that matter more. So at the individual level, decoupling identity from activity, and then transformationally, just making sure you're always looking at the business model and where value is created and what levers there are. And because every one of us is on this AI journey for the very first time, working with others who do it, so peers, professionals, anyone who can also help you get perspective on the types of transformations that matter most.
Okay. Sean?
Well, I think, look, I am a card carrying data scientist. I am as excited about all the AI technology and models as you can be. But I think when you're trying to make an impact on a company's ability to move quickly around speed, it's actually a little bit of a riddle because the focus is way less importantly on the models or the AI tech itself. And it's more on these series of decisions that are pretty mundane, but actually make a really important impact. So, for example, how clean your technology stack is potentiates speed way more than your choice of model. Making choices to have a simple technology stack that is relatively modular, that is not answering every possible use case, but a core set of use cases. Those are tough conversations for a CTO or a chief product officer or head of AI to have. But that actually means you can build way more quickly when you have an idea where you identify a use case. I think the other big thing I keep seeing, when I talk to my peers, is the explosion of pilots around AI inside a company can become an incredible drag on your ability to move quickly because each one of those has a champion and a team and a set of KPIs and a data engineering squad. And eventually the drag of having too many pilots can actually stop you from getting the business value realization because it slows you down in terms of ability to identify what works, retire what doesn't, and then scale the what's successful pilots to the entire enterprise, and that's how you actually create business value. But those are really tough trade-offs. They require conversations not on the day you're trying to launch a new AI tool or system. They're choices you made 6 months or 12 months ago as a technology organization, as a business.
Nizar.
If I may add to what Sean said, I think this is the important part. We all have been playing with pilots, trying different things, seeing what's successful and not. But I think where most of us are trying to figure out how do we scale this and create value to the companies. And I think what you said is very important. You have to type every initiative we're doing. It has to be adding business value. It has to be creating something. And I agree with your point. It does not have to be cost. It has to be, can we create better services? Can we respond faster to our customer? Can we, of course, create productivity? Can we enhance the capability or the engagement of our teammate? So it has to be something measurable, something that you can like move the business forward. Second thing that I think we all found, what we're doing is no longer just a technology led transformation. This has to be a business led transformation. It has to be led from the top. It has to be from the board. It has to be from the CEO, the entire executive team. And they need to be engaged in that entire transformation for this to really hold and to engage everybody. So I think those two elements, in ensuring that AI is no longer a project, that's on the side. You do your job, then you do AI. AI has to be an integral part of the process, of the business processes. If you don't do these three things, it's very hard to scale and it's very hard to capture any value. And I think everybody's given up on, you've heard people spending tons of money and not getting anything in return. I think this is the transition that will all lead to.
Yeah, the really tough part of that is, and it goes back to the idea of identity. The leaders are probably the ones who are the least comfortable with some of this technology. I love the idea of bringing in even younger interns to help educate and bring in. There's a whole generation of people who only know AI. My son is 8. His first word was Google because they have Google Home at home. He's only known a world with AI. It's abnormal to him. But younger people will bring this in. A lot of more senior executives, their entire identity is designed around how many people they manage, the processes, the spreadsheets, the dashboards, and stuff like that. And they have to be more comfortable vibe managing, like treating things differently, focusing on the outcomes and not the mechanics and the micromanagement of the details and the dashboards. So we have to help them all to embrace another way of working so they can see the potential of their own business.
Patrick, can you tell us a little bit more about those interns?
Look, I'm in ventures, so most of what we do day to day is invest in AI native companies. However, internally, our operations are antiquated. I'm a creature of habit. I do things the old school way. And it took two 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds to say, dude, you could do it 10x faster, hand X. And I like what you said about outcomes as opposed to, sorry, it was
Outcomes versus activities.
and like I'm as much as I want to think I'm I am biased by my prior activity or how I was trained.
Yeah.
And ventures and apprenticeship gigs. So we could teach them a lot, but in 10 weeks, they're gone. So hence, that's why a lot of venture firms don't take interns. Now we flip the script where they come in and they're like, shit, we can automate this, from events to follow-ups to outbound. Like we're a team of 5 and now we're like a team of 15 with the right tools, optimal. We got a lot to learn. But I saw like from a year, it's been exponential, the level and efficacy of AI tools that we use.
We think about this as a two-speed engine because I think when you have a huge corporation, Amgen's 35,000 employees, you absolutely have to invest in a group of people who can imagine that future, who have the technical skills or the literacy, the fluency to actually build and create that future. Or we also think about everybody else who maybe is a little bit less fluent. And there, I think there are some really important lessons around driving adoption of tools using things like customer centricity principles and user experience principles. Thinking about the type of trainings that make um, literacy seem like an easy step as opposed to a scary, hard, difficult step. And some really clear expectations around what's important to learn when, because everybody can't move at the same speed. And I think thinking about those two speeds are really important to really drive this part of the transformation.
Nizar, can you tell everybody what you told me?
That's actually talking about reskilling and trying to make sure that any transformation requires constant communication, but also requires it's a top down and it's a bottom up. But the top down, for the leaders to understand this technology, they have to experience it. So I was telling you earlier that now I have office hours for my leadership and for my board. So actually every Thursday we have an hour. They can come call into this call because uh, a big portion of our board right now is about educating the board, about educating the executive leadership what's in the art of possible? And this stuff is moving at the speed of light. So constantly we're saying, last quarter, this is what you heard. This is what's in the art possible. So the office hours have been very well attended and they're asking for more. So funny story, but that's kind of how we bring the people along. If they want to understand what they need to drive, they need to understand the technology and the capability being built.
I love that. The interns in high school and then office hours with the board. Dan, I want you to talk a little bit more concretely about how you decide what to prioritize.
Yeah. So a couple things. We've always sort of said similarly, we don't win by shipping features, we win by moving metrics. So there's nothing sort of vanity around what we do. But one thing that's been helpful for Carvana from forever is we've distilled every single aspect of the business into a unit economic model. So whether that's how we spend marketing dollars, how fast we can deliver the cars, we obviously pricing, interest rates, selection, we distill everything. We understand the conversion elasticities of any of those measures, NPS and repeat purchasing. So we can normalize everything into what do we think this does to the unit economics of the business. And that gives us a discipline and a way of having an intelligent conversation about what it is that we prioritize. Right now, what's fun is that we get to have a conversation that the average bite size can be larger. We can be more ambitious for two reasons. One is that there are things that are possible now that were literally not possible before. We have an infinite content creation machine that allows for a level of personalization of user experience or nurture that has never existed before. You also can just take on much more ambitious coding projects, because something where you'd say, well, that's kind of an uncertain outcome and the cost is too high for you to take on right now, the cost has come down. And so we really are encouraging people to take bigger bites at any given time. So it still is about, we say fewer things faster a lot. And so it's still about prioritization. It is about the right set of things, but we're really encouraging people to think a little bit bigger and take an larger average bite.
Fewer things faster, sir.
Question.
Oh, yeah, please.
Because once you all have great stories of completely coherent, I'm really depressed. So I have to ask, what's the biggest argument you're having in this regard?
Yeah, you guys are agreeing way too much. Breath-tips are too high.
Not between each other, but here you are. You've normalized the metrics. You have office hours for the board. But you're not all holding hands and singing kumbaya with AI. So what's the big AI-based argument you're having about we need to prioritize this over that? That you're getting people to say bigger bites.
Well, you say I'll say two, and we can all chip in because I'm sure we're all having them. I'll say two would be, one is that suddenly everything is instantaneous and easy, and that's like we all have Twitter, so we're all poisoned with like I vibe coded this thing over the weekend. And when you're a really large enterprise, and there's more to it than that, and there's higher stakes and downsides are real, and you do need to be thoughtful. And so you're always fighting against a tweet sent to you that says, shouldn't this be easy? I think that is sort of one thing that we struggle with. And then the other is absolutely the change management of how you have to do your job differently. And that, I think, we're pretty unapologetic about. We really prefer to speak to people like adults and say, this is not optional. The world is changing. Our professions are going through a true revolution. And so, you're going to have to adopt, and we're going to measure that, and we're going to help you, and we're going to do everything that we possibly can, but we're not going to have a conversation about whether you should be trying out AI or not, because you're so good at what you do. You can be 5 times better than you already are if you embrace these things. The bright stars shine even brighter with AI. And so the people who think they needed the least can actually gain the most from adoption. So we're just very unapologetic about adoption, but it's a problem.
Let's hear from you too. I like some dissent. Let's bring in some more dissent.
I got a question for the group because there's this common theme of sort of like you can push real problem solving further down. You can allow people to take these big swings. Curious, how do you think about mitigating the risk of optimizing over speed? How do you think about frameworks and unified systems that now product is democratized, real problem solving is to be pushed lower and lower? There's a framework I would have is we push an internal agent where anyone in our organization is now we need to leave an engineer, right? And so in the last month, a meaningful percent of PRs were non-technical folks. That's really exciting because now the person closest to the problem gets to solve it. But in the vacuum, all of a sudden you have a product that's just not unified. Just people who are coming out with solutions. So I'm curious with organizations at your scale, how are you thinking about empowering individuals to solve real problems, but make sure it's all still relevant in AI.
We think of it architecturally. So there's different layers of the architecture that are more sustainable and reusable across things. And then there are things that are highly innovative more at the edge. So if you have everyone innovating a full stack solution, you're going to have competing architectures all over the place. So certain common services, for example, we handle centrally. How we're going to handle which agents, which frameworks, and how data is accessed via MCP or CLI. That's common to a lot of things. We don't want everyone making that up. But innovating how people do work is very specific to departments and teams. So we've enabled what we call a breakability and a set of common services, and then they innovate on top of the common services. The common layer will always move around a little bit. That's where some of the internal debate is, which things should be. But I think you find that the people closest to the work actually know how this should work, and they should have the freedom to do that. But if they keep inventing the stack, you're going to have a million stacks and a bunch of tech debt. So that's obviously a risk. The other thing to think about in all this is just how do you encourage people to innovate, knowing that things might be competing solutions, which can cause some noise. So we'll have practices where people might have competing solutions. But when our approach to that is we have an app store internally, everyone can publish to the app store. The things that are chosen as strategic get a little blue check or whatever check we're going to use for a color. So they're certified for that practice as a standard. Everything else was innovative, but certain things are standard. So that's another way to layer it so you can promote the strongest things, but keep innovating below that.
So practical. Nizar.
For the sake of create some controversy, I'm going to disagree with. No, so actually, we have a very similar approach. The role of technologists right now is really to create the platform, that stack that has the traceability, it has the security, it has the RBAC system for precision, and we're a publicly traded company, so actually it has to be auditable, it has to be secure, etc. That's the framework we do. Everything else, we leave it to the rest of the organization. And we encourage duplication, so that's kind of where we disagree on purpose. We want competition. We want people to have multiple agents that do something similar. It's okay. At the end of the day, it's all about speed, enablement, so that we can go as fast as possible. But what we cannot let go is exactly creating multiple frameworks, creating multiple maybe insecure system. That's when speed becomes an issue. So this has been either the battle or the challenge is with shareholders, etc. Is we want to go at very fast speed, but we also want to make sure that we do everything securely, everything in a fashion that it can. So maybe slow down a little bit so that we can go faster, and that's exactly for that reason. So do things as a platform has the ability to scale. We're not worried about the scale. But to try to do it individually becomes a nightmare to manage and a nightmare to also maintain, which is the bigger issue.
We have 5 minutes left. Oh, right there. Yeah. And then you.
So one of the things that I'm facing in our organization is a complaint from our engineers saying that the output has increased. So there's a lot more content being generated. And so everybody has to now that multiplies because if I write content, I write once, but there's like 10 people, 5 people who are going to read and review it. And there are factual errors in the AI generated content, for example. So they're saying that there's a lot more time getting wasted in those kind of things. So overall, we can talk about the output is being increased in different areas. But what I'm struggling with is the outcome being also improved. For example, is my roadmap getting accelerated? Did I plan to do 10 features in the year? Did I end up doing 12 features or did I end up doing in 9 months? I'm not yet seeing that. But if I ask people, they say, oh, this code I was supposed to write in 3 weeks, I wrote it in the weekend.
Okay, so that's a great question. Who can address
Well,
it?
Boris partly answered that this morning because the bottleneck keeps moving. And so the speed to create content, and several of us who create marketing content, thought leadership content, that happens faster. Code happens faster. People are now using AI also to do some of the reviews. Now, I don't think you can have AI just review AI and call it a day. There's still human accountability, but you can triage, you can fact check, you can create QA agents that do an enormous amount of the work and let you focus on the exceptions and the harder issues. In the end, you're still accountable for the output, but you can be accountable for a lot more output if you're also using the tools to review some of the output, especially against policies and different points of view than the person who creates.
There was another question in this back row here. He's in the back. He's wearing a navy button down, looks like.
Teamwork makes the mix.
Oh, I keep thinking about, before November 22nd, 2022, we used to buy software from these people called SaaS vendors. Um, what do you want from them today? What have you seen where you like, oh, they did something really good, or no, this is, they're doomed.
All right. What do you want from them today? We have like 60 seconds. So
Headless software and openness.
Developer. So I think there is a difference between system of record and system of execution. Historically, they drove everything as one. I think that's going to have to be split. So headless systems that we can interact with through human, no more clicking, that the agent do the work.
I'm going to give you guys the final word. I'm going to go this way, start with Nizar. Give everybody the final word on this, something that you want them to take away, something concrete.
That's difficult, but I would say we're in this. I think we crossed the Rubicon. There is no going back. So my example to my team is we burned the ships are burnt. We're not going back. There is no going back. The future is bright. However, it's still the road is not clear and still thorny. But it's always the hardest thing is that first step. So take that first step. The path will reveal itself.
I would just say it's an unbelievably exciting time. We're really trying to encourage our teams that yes, the expectations of output are higher. Yes, I think hiring might slow on a relative basis, but there are an infinite number of problems to solve. And as the cost of solving problems comes down, we're going to solve more of them faster. And just to look for those opportunities and go after them really, really intensely. And we're having a lot of fun with it.
Thank you, Dan. Sean?
Well, I am so excited about what AI and technology are going to deliver for all of us through the lens of biotech and better medicines. There's nothing more important than our own health, our family's health, and our ability to live long, productive lives. That being said, I think this is a moment where the distractions of the newest model types, the newest technology, the latest news story can really take folks away from focusing on the outcomes that matter. There is nothing slower than an unplanned technology detour. And so keeping your eye on the prize, defining the business values, realization goals, tracking the KPIs, and making the tough prioritization decisions are absolutely more important than all the razzle dazzle of this moment.
Brett?
I find AI to be incredibly empowering. And so I leave with the thought that if you think of it, you can do it. You can do it with AI, you can code, you can learn, you can try things you haven't known before. And for all the people who see that, there's kind of this moment that happens. And I think many of you expressed it as you were doing your intros. There's a moment where it happens where you realize you can just do stuff. And there's very little stopping us because we have this infinite intelligence, infinite amount of capacity if you put it to work. So if you can get the rest of the people around you to believe in that, then your business will go faster.
Thanks so much, Brett. Great note to end on. Thank you so much to our partners, West Monroe. We appreciate your partnership. That's all of the time we have. So staff are going to be outside to direct you to courtesy carts. There's a reception at Gary Lauder's house down the road for dinner. So if you want to party with the Lauders, come one, come all. Thank you all so much for your time. For your podcast. You hero. Thank you guys.
Great.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, like, it's because